Welcome to the Level Up English podcast, the best place to come to practice the English language, learn about the British accent and culture, with me, your host, Michael Lavers. Hello, English learners, and welcome back to the Level Up English podcast. Thank you for being here on another happy Wednesday for episode 182. Wow, so many episodes. Today, I'm going to be talking about TV series, maybe movies a bit as well. So way back in episode 22, long time ago, episode 22, I spoke about some good TV series to learn the British accent. And many people since then have requested a part 2. So I thought I would finally appease them, which means make them happy, appease them. And I would make a part 2, but I have been a bit reluctant to do so until now because simply I don't watch many things. During the day, I try to focus very hard on my work projects. And then when the evening comes and it's time to relax, I just turn off completely. My brain is just turn off, which is one reason why I will never do a lesson in the evening, because you will just see the zombie version of Michael. So usually in the evening, I will watch something on YouTube, some gameplay videos from video games, something like that. It's really just like mindless entertainment where I can sit back, I can enjoy and watch. I don't really have to think about anything. It's just a great way to unwind for me. And I always feel good having watched it. I never regret watching it too, so that's good for me. But because of that, I don't really watch many TV series. I watch a little bit. I've watched a couple this year, which I'm going to talk about more on the private podcast on Friday. By the way, I could mention now that if you want to listen to the private podcast, if you want group classes with me, if you want transcripts for these episodes, and many other courses, such as the IELTS exam, writing courses, pronunciation courses, then you can consider becoming a member at Level Up English. Go to the website, there's a link in the description as well, and then tap on that members button. And if you want to, you can sign up. It's £10 a month for a subscription, and you can access all these things, many hours of lessons. I get a lot of messages from people like, wow, I'm so surprised at the price. I'm so surprised how cheap it is. And I'm actually really happy to see that because I do agree. I don't think I'm allowed to say that because I have a bias, right? But I do think it's a very good price for the amount of content you get. It's really insane. So if that is interesting for you, you can go there and check it out. If you're not quite sure, you're welcome to try the free lessons as well. If you go to, there should be another link in the description that says free lessons, and you click there, in your podcast app, and then you can sign up with your email to get 5 free lessons sent to your email. And these are from Level Up English. You can listen to the private podcast, you can try a couple different courses and see if you like it. And even if you don't like it, you can get some free lessons. You can stick around, get some lessons by email from me. I send out twice a month. But anyway, that's what I'm doing these days. So yeah, for this episode, I had to do a little bit of research because, as I said, I don't watch much. So I did some research and I watched on YouTube and I tried to find some good TV shows for you guys. So I'm going to share what I think might be good for you. And yeah. Oh, by the way, I wanted to mention, if any of you are gamers out there and you like video games, a really good one I'd recommend is one called Stray. Stray. This word stray means like homeless, but we use it for animals. Pets, I should say. So a stray cat is a cat who has no owners, he has no home, he's living on the streets. Very sad. And there's a game called Stray where you get to play as a cat I think it's set in the future and there's robots and I don't think there's any English in the game. It's not good for English study, but it's a very short game, just a couple of hours. I highly recommend it. It's really, really good. I really enjoyed it. It's just like, it gives you that cozy feeling. Like, it's cute. It's visually a nice game. It's good. It's good. Anyway, that's just a random recommendation. So I'm going to cover some series for British English. I do want to make it clear that we are all different. So don't force anything. If one isn't interesting for you, then don't force it. It's maybe just not the right show for you. So it's really important to find something you enjoy. And if something I say doesn't appeal to you, then just don't watch it, you know? You don't have to watch it. It's not really going to improve your English much if you're sat there hating every second of it, right? But I still think something like Black Mirror would just be perfect. If you remember, or maybe you're going to listen again, episode 22, I mentioned Black Mirror, which is a British it's kind of science fiction. Sometimes it's a bit like horror. It's really complicated to describe the genre here. But every episode has an individual story, and it's often about some kind of problem in the future, like social media gets out of control, or something about, I don't know, AI or virtual reality. Or it's really, really interesting, and it's really got good actors or good... I think the accent is good in them. And if you listen to them, you can hear like a really good British accent. There's like different types with different types of British accents. I think sometimes there's a couple American characters too in some episodes. I think that's a really good one. I just can't imagine anyone not liking that series, but I'm sure there are many people. But for me, it just leaves me thinking for days after watching. Like, it doesn't leave my mind. I'm like, wow, just shocked after what I saw. But yeah, honestly, anything that you enjoy is going to be good. But I'm going to go over my favourite series on the private episode later from 2022. But okay, here's one that I think you might like based on what I've seen. So the first couple I'm mentioning here are ones that have a narrative. Narrative means they've got a story. It's not just non-fiction, it has a story. So the first one is one called Peaky Blinders. It doesn't interest me too much, this one, but it's very, very popular. And seems to be, to me, like a crime drama set after World War One. So it's maybe set 200? Wow, I'm not that stupid. 100 years ago, after World War One, and it's got some very good actors I have seen, and they speak with these kind of nice British accents, a little bit maybe of an older style perhaps, but I think a lot of people use this for English study as well because of the way they sound. But apparently it is a very good series too. It's just, I don't know, maybe it's not my cup of tea, but probably I might like it, but you don't have the time for everything. So Peaky Blinders is one. I will put the TV shows, everything I mentioned today will be in the show notes. So if you want to see them written down, maybe you're not sure how to spell them, you can check it out on the show notes page on my website. The next one is another one I haven't seen, which is The Office. The Office. But I have seen the American version. Here, I'm talking about the British version. Starred or maybe created by Ricky Gervais. Yeah, I mean, the American one is just so hilarious, and it was based on the British one. But this is a TV series where they're kind of filming people in an office. They're all actors, of course. But I think one reason why this could be such a good one is because, we have different accents in this series. I imagine it's quite funny, but I think you can also learn British humour too. I think this is one reason why this is not so universally popular and loved as the American series, because American humor tends to be more kind of understood worldwide, I would say, but British humor can be a little bit harder to translate into other cultures, even American culture, I think. So if you want to see a bit of British humor, maybe The Office is a good show for you. And it's just kind of real situations. It's not science fiction, it's not fantasy. It's people working in an office, daily life kind of stuff. So I think that kind of stuff is always going to be useful for your English listening and vocabulary practice. The final one I want to share with a narrative is The Crown. I haven't seen this one either, I have to admit, but I'm sharing it because whenever I ask my students, what do you like to watch? Everyone says The Crown, everyone. So it seems to be very popular with English learners, or at least my learners, and they seem to like it too. And I have seen clips on YouTube. It's got some good actors and actresses. It is set in the past. I guess it's the life of Queen Elizabeth in the past, I think. But yeah, of course, generally a lot of the English might be a bit posher, more, Queen's English. So it's not necessarily the way that we would talk in everyday life. But I know a lot of people out there like to hear this kind of posh English, upper class English, right? So check out The Crown if you want to see more of that. My preference is often things that don't have a narrative. I really enjoy little kind of documentaries and things like that. So these have no narrative, they're just shows that are non-fiction, they're about specific topics. This one, my brother used to love. I never really liked it. It just seemed so fake to me. Also, I really hate cars. I don't like cars at all. I don't get why people like cars. I just don't get it. But anyway, this is Top Gear. Top Gear. There have been many, many episodes, many seasons of Top Gear. If you really like cars, I think this is going to be perfect for you. If you like cars, you probably know about this one already. Even if you don't like cars, I think it might be good as well, because it's just kind of like a group of lads doing some funny things, right? So it's people, the presenters, getting into challenges, doing funny things. I don't know. I can think of some things they've done. They've like made their own cars. Maybe I think one episode they made an amphibious vehicle, which means it was a car that could also be a boat. So they would drive it on the road and then they would drive it into the lake, and hopefully it floated, but maybe some of them didn't and they sank. And it is quite fun and entertaining to watch that. But also, if you listen, like Richard Hammond, for example, has a very, he's very well spoken. He's got a nice clear accent. I recommend listening to him. And it's just people chatting with each other. It's not like scripted speech, so it's very natural speech. Another one, which I think you might like, is very, very popular in the UK. Whenever this comes on, the entire country is talking about this. It's not my cup of tea, again. It's not something that I really like. But this is the Great British Bake Off. The Great British Bake Off. So this is a show where we often have celebrities and other people in cooking or baking competitions where they have to bake a cake or something like that. I've honestly never seen it. I've seen clips on YouTube, but I think it can be funny. Like sometimes they fail, their baking goes wrong, they have a big meltdown, a big problem, they get angry, and it's just talking with each other, arguing, preparing for the competition. I can see why it's entertaining, but I don't know. I have other things I want to watch. I don't have to explain myself, right? But yeah, Great British Bake Off, I think, again, it's just regular people talking. It's not scripted. it's the best place to hear like real English, right? So it's a good place to learn if you want that. My next recommendation is what maybe my favorite. I mean, okay, until now I have mentioned things that I don't really watch, and yet maybe you're thinking like, Michael, why are you recommending these things that you don't watch? What's the point of that? Well, I mean, as I said, I did do a bit of research. I think they would be good if it's your cup of tea, if you like it. This one, I have seen every single episode and I love it. And also the benefit is there's lots on YouTube as well. So do you want to learn swear words, curse words? Do you want to learn how to be angry with someone in English? Then you might like Gordon Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares. You might have seen this already, but I love this show so much. There was a version, I think he started in the UK, where it's kind of interesting in itself, where you can see he started in the UK, then he went to the US later on. So you've got American version, the British version, and it's interesting to see how it's made in different countries. In the US, it's much more dramatic. There's more music. It's more like quick, fast cuts. In the UK, it's quiet, peaceful, no music, and it's a very different feeling. It kind of reflects the culture that, what we like to watch, I guess. But I love Gordon Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares. It's so funny. He goes to different restaurants and tries to help them avoid shutting down. He gives them tips and he tries their food. And yeah, it's very entertaining. So I recommend that one. It's great. I also want to give you one bonus tip now. Again, there may be a lot of you who like video games. Like, video games can be a great way to learn English because it's more interactive. You're really immersed and absorbed in the game rather than being a bit more passive as you might be with a TV show. So I prefer video games, honestly, if I want to have immersion. And there's a few video games that I love in English, and I think they are all American accents, honestly. But if you like horror, you have to give this a try. I haven't played them, I've just watched them on YouTube. But it's a company called The Dark Pictures. The Dark Pictures. The most recent one that I watched was called Little Hope. Little Hope. And it's about like a group of kids in the woods, and they, depending on your choices, they maybe can get killed or they can survive. It's also kind of graphically quite good. I mean, the people look amazing too. It looks almost like real people. But it's a fantastic series. There's another one called Man of Medan, House of Ashes, and The Devil in Me. They're all horror games. If you don't like horror, it's not for you. But there's a lot of... It's kind of like a movie. It's like a movie that you can control on a game. So I love that one. Here's a couple bonus ones that I don't really know much about, but you might like. I mean, I've heard from other people that these are good. One is Luther. That's Luther. Luther. It's quite hard for me to pronounce that one. Luther. Another one is Sex Education, which I think is a British TV show. Well, I know it's a British TV show, but it's like this story. I don't know anything about it, but that was quite popular. I know many of my students have seen that. Many of my friends have seen that. And I think it looks quite good. And the last one is one that I really do want to see, which is called The Last Kingdom. I think this is British. You have to double check, but The Last Kingdom seems to be about kind of Vikings and maybe the people in England 1,000 years ago fighting between them. I don't know. Something like that. But it seems very, very interesting. So Last Kingdom is on my list to watch in the future. Okay, I suppose I'll leave it here. As I said, I'm going to spend some time talking on the private episode about my favourite shows of 2022. I have seen 6 TV series in the past year or so, and 2 movies. I don't really watch movies, but I want to talk about them and why I loved them. I loved all of them. And I can't wait to discuss that with you guys soon. But yeah, I'll leave it here for the main episode today. Hope you liked it. I hope you enjoy these podcasts because at the moment, I'm not at home. I'm about to embark on a big trip where I'll be away from the UK for several, maybe many weeks, maybe longer than I've ever been away before. And because of that, I'm trying to kind of record a little bit in advance, in this place now. But hopefully the quality is still good for you guys. Hopefully it sounds okay and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, if anything seems a bit off, it will be back to normal soon. But yeah, hopefully I didn't seem too off today. It's a bit, I guess it's a bit uncomfortable not being in my usual setup with my usual microphone at home, so it's a little bit weird recording in a new place, but that's something I have to get used to, I suppose. But I am actually planning on getting a permanent little studio set up where I'm going to have a really good microphone, really nice noise, echo cancellation stuff around me. That might be here in 6 months, something like that. Long-term goal. But yeah, can't wait for that. Well, anyway, I've got one review today, and then I believe I'm caught up on the reviews for now. And this is from Saudi Arabia, from Fahad Al-Qasimi, or Fahad. But anyway, they said, "Hi Michael, how are you, my friend? People always say your podcast is one of the best English podcasts, but for me, it is the best. In every tweet on Twitter for the best podcast, I always see your podcast, and that is not a surprise to me because of the efforts you're doing to make it engaging and enjoyable. Keep going, and thank you very much." Wow. I don't even use Twitter, so I didn't know I'm being talked about on Twitter. That's very nice. Well, thank you, Fahad, and the kind people of Twitter for supporting me. The quote I want to share today is from Pericles, and it is on a picture that I took in Tallinn, Estonia. And the picture is quite a beautiful one, if I don't say so myself. And it's a rock, a huge boulder, outside the kind of main, government buildings in Tallinn. And this rock was once used to barricade people from the buildings. It was something like that, if I remember correctly, from 1991. Basically, the short story is that this rock is a memorial to the ending of the Soviet Union in Estonia. So I guess it's like a symbol of their regained independence again. And it's, a beautiful little area. But anyway, the quote here says, "What you leave behind is not what is engraved in stone monuments, but what is woven into the lives of others." On Instagram, I speak a bit more about some of the words here, but I think basically what this is saying is it doesn't matter what you do in life. You can become a famous person, you can have your name written in stone, but that really doesn't matter, in the long run. What really matters is the effect you have on other people. Have you left a positive influence on the world and on others? I think that's what this is saying. So I always like to bring it back to other people because that is what language learning is all about. It's about communication and talking to others. But anyway, I will leave it here. Thank you so much for listening. Appreciate that. I hope to see you again soon. I don't know where I'll be when I next talk with you. I'll probably have a different background, everything like that. But wherever I am, I hope you have a great time until then. Thank you, and I'll see you then. Goodbye. You have been listening to the Level Up English podcast. If you would like to leave a question to be answered on a future episode, then please go to levelupenglish.school/podcast. That's levelupenglish.school/podcast. And I'll answer your question on a future episode. Thanks for listening.